Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to this morning, evening, or afternoon meditation with Caverly Morgan. I'm Janice, and I'm just here to give you a little information before we get started today. If you're new to the platform, Sangha Live, I'd love to share just a little bit about it with you. First of all, there's a beautiful community. There's this sidebar next to the video, and please take a moment to check out who's tuning in this morning from around the world, and you can also say hello. Sangha Live is an online platform that for the past 5 years has been offering weekly Sunday meditations with a whole range of different teachers. And over the past couple weeks, they started doing these daily meditations. All of the recordings for these can be found on the website, the Sangha Live website. And in addition to these meditations, there's also in-depth courses that Sangha Live offers, all of which I believe can be found on the Dharma Library. So thank you for being here. I do want to plug also the green button just below the video. That's there if you have the ability to donate, to offer dana. Your generosity is what makes this possible. Any financial support you can give supports the platform, the tech, the people who are working behind the scenes, and the teachers. So I encourage you to click on that button and donate at any time if possible. And if it's not possible, that's okay. We're so grateful this is accessible to all, and your presence is a huge means of support. So I'd like to introduce Caverly Morgan. I realize I've been introducing her the last couple sessions, and I've mentioned that she's a meditation teacher. She's a nonprofit leader. She's a visionary, and I forgot to mention she's also an author. She has a children's book about mindfulness coming out. She's been collaborating with a kids book about, kidsbookabout.com. And she's also writing her own book, which is going to be released hopefully in the next year or two. Caverly is a nonprofit leader. She leads Presence Collective and a nonprofit called Peace in Schools. And one of the things I love about her is not only is she a meditation teacher, but her whole life is dedicated to service. And a lot of the folks who've been joining these meditations, I can just tell are really passionate about connecting this practice and then, what we can do out in the world. So without further ado, I'd love to bring her on screen. Good morning.
Gina, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your support. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, friends. It's just heartwarming to show up here every day. I'm quite, as far as Buddhist teachers go, non-dual teachers go, I'm pretty attached to this gathering at this point in time. I've really been loving it. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for showing up. It's become a ritual in my day that I appreciate deeply. So thank you for your presence. Yesterday, and lovely to see folks saying hello in the sidebar. Thanks for doing that. Last night in our weekly Wednesday night class that we do through Zoom, I mentioned that in Crowdcast, this platform, I really am basing the knowledge that people are there off the sidebar, because in Zoom, you can see everyone's faces. So thanks for saying hello. And in all seriousness, I feel the presence of others, and it's important for us to recognize that even with technology, we can feel this sense of shared being, the quality of presence that comes from sitting together. So thank you again. Yesterday morning, someone requested a meditation about equanimity. So I came prepared. As I mentioned yesterday, if you're new to this offering and you haven't joined us until today, just know that I very much enjoy being able to be in relationship with people who show up to practice. So that happens through, after the meditation, our exchanges. It happens through whether you come on screen, and so please know that you'd be most welcome after this meditation to come on screen and have a dialogue about practice. You could also be writing in the sidebar, but that dialogue is an opportunity for engagement that I appreciate very much. And yesterday, someone requested a meditation about equanimity. You are welcome to make such requests because it allows me to meet the moment, meet the need, which is rewarding for me to feel again like I'm not just offering something to a computer screen, but that I'm really getting a chance to connect with you. It's valuable to me. So come into the position that's most comfortable for you for this meditation. Oh, Evelyn, thank you. You just let me know that you cannot hear me. So if you could write in the sidebar, if you can hear me, that would be great. And then we'll know if it's an issue with my end or perhaps Evelyn's end. So please let me know if you can hear me. Okay, great. I have to trust that if one person can hear me, others can as well. Okay, thank you, friends. Okay, great. All right, so Evelyn, I am going to suggest that it's something on your end. Yes, and Sangha Live just reported, thank you, Janice. It could be helpful to try to refresh your browser. So thank you, friends, very much for writing in and letting me know. Okay. So come into the position that would be supportive for your experience of sitting meditation this morning. I speak quite a bit about how the conditioned mind is habituated to run in ruts, that they're grooves of thought patterns that are created as we repeat the same conditioned patterns over and over. Take a moment to bring attention to another kind of conditioning, if you will. Every time I come to the meditation cushion, every time I hear a meditation bell like the one I just rang. I can feel the entire system respond. In the same way that we can learn to direct our attention so that it's not continually feeding the patterns created by the inner critic, for example. In directing our attention to stillness, it's not so much that there's a reprogramming, it's that there's a dismantling of the conditioned programming. But you could talk about that as a reconditioning if that works for you. Reconditioning to reality. So if it's helpful to you, allow there to be some rhythm or consistency with practice. For those of you that have been showing up every morning, that's part of what you're setting in place. Dedicating myself to the experience, the direct experience of presence, is simply what I do every day. Our experience of equanimity is stabilized through the repetition of this experience of being presence. Of recognizing ourselves as presence. I brought for you a poem. A short poem by Wendell Berry. What we need is here. Geese appear high over us, pass, and the sky closes. Abandon, as in love or sleep, holds them to their way. Clear. In the ancient faith, what we need is here. And we pray, not for new earth or heaven, but to be quiet in heart and in eye clear. What we need is here. The here that Wendell Berry speaks of course, is the here of presence. It has little to do with our physical location, nothing, in fact, to do with our physical location. Equanimity is the result of taking a stand, knowing ourselves as presence. As we know ourselves as presence, we see that all things arise in us. And we see that we are undisturbed by all things that arise in us. Open, infinite awareness. What we need is here. Abandon, like in love or in sleep. Holds us to this stand. So we're abandoning our attachment. To all things that arise, our fears, our dislikes, all that agitates. all such things like weather patterns that pass through the sky. They leave the sky undisturbed. You are that sky. You are revealed as storms pass. You are revealed to be undisturbed. Unscathed by these objects of experience. You are left empty, open, shining with the luminosity of being. Release the temptation to identify with these objects of experience that arise. These fears, these wants, these habit patterns of mind at large. Abandon that temptation. What you need, what you long for is here. Equanimity is the natural byproduct of knowing yourself as pure awareness, pure consciousness. And of seeing that experience arises in you. Of seeing that this arising, whatever is arising, is known by you. Take a stand as that knowing. Take a stand as presence. Welcoming everything in you. Embracing everything in you. Thank you, friends. Now's my time to remind you to make a donation if you're able to support this platform, to support the flourishing of teachings through the world, especially during this time. So, a reminder, green button just below me. So good, Evelyn. I'm glad to see that refreshing your browser worked. Kavi Gasho. Kavi practices in our community, and Kavi's making reference, if you don't know the term Gasho in the Zen monastic tradition out of which I came, Gasho is my heart and your heart are one. So, Gasho, friends, as we open this up for questions and comments, I would love to remind you to come on screen if you're willing. It offers the most full experience of engagement. Again, if you're willing, and no worries if you'd rather just type something in. Sandy, good morning. How can I experience intense sadness within my own spacious sky? Just feel the pain of the sadness and allow it to pass through. Sandy, the first thing that arises for me is, how can we not experience all that passes through this sky? I say this sky as opposed to my sky, because remember, Sandy, my sky of awareness, of pure, unlimited, vast consciousness is not separate from your sky. So how can we not experience all that is? We have to identify with these conditioned patterns and processes that I talk about. We have to veil our experience, our direct experience of presence, in order to perceive that we are other than. Remember to disidentify with what's arising. Let's say intense sadness. To disidentify from intense sadness is actually, it's just like Wendell Berry said in terms of abandoning that experience as to remain steadfast in who we are. That's not the same thing as not feeling it. So many know that not too long ago, I lost my beloved Bankei. Of course, I didn't lose him. He hasn't gone anywhere. Bankei was, many of you may know, a Zen master from many hundreds of years ago. Bankei was also my dog. And the felt experience of grief was profound for me. Even when recognizing myself as pure presence, that didn't mean that grief, that I was somehow unattached from grief and therefore hovering over my experience, but not actually having the experience. Sandy, I look forward to seeing how that resonates, how that lands with you. You're welcome to comment again and let me know, or also come on screen. And Maria, thank you. I see that you'd love to come on screen. You didn't say love, but I'm going to project. I would love to have you come on screen. And I don't know whether you can do it with iPhone. So I'm trusting that Janice is looking into that and will let us know in that sidebar if that's possible. But thank you, Maria. I appreciate seeing your name come through. You've been very dedicated to practice, and it would be lovely to have an exchange with you. Oh my goodness. Maria, at last.
Caverly.
We've had so many exchanges, and I've never gotten to do this with you. Hello.
Hi, I'm so happy, Caverly. It's like a miracle that I kind of can sit with you for a whole month.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. I really am. And you're in Sweden, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yes. Yeah. Caverly, it's unbelievable. It's like you fell into my heart in July, and from then on, I really feel you like a presence. It's very wonderful. Today's meditation. Sorry, yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, I appreciate that it's a shared presence. You know, really, yeah. But please continue. Today's meditation.
Yeah, and today's meditation with equanimity was very timely. Although I have to say that every meditation with you really settles me very naturally in equanimity, regardless of theme. Because you make these references regularly to that reminds you of what is really real. But today I am very recently both challenged and triggered. Because
you and probably many people
many more. Yeah.
I mean, it's the nature of this time, isn't it? It's just important to acknowledge that there's nothing wrong with the fact that we're getting triggered, and it's understandable.
Yeah. My thing is a very personal story, so it's not to go into that, but it's really one that can trigger you because it has to do with me, my sister and foster brother, and a shared house that we're finally, coming to a resolution around, where me and my sister actually, we just say yes to all conditions just to come to a completion.
So there was conflict, but there's been a letting go and a just saying yes so that there can be resolution.
Exactly. We will probably, do everything that he suggests. So because for 10 years we have been trying to come to a conclusion here. And it's like, these are my roots. So there comes feelings, but it's interesting when I sit in the meditation. So recently, a little upset from the main conversation and realizing what's about to happen, that when I go into the story, there are feelings, and they have their relevance. But when I ask myself, what do you really feel? Then I feel freedom. Yeah. So what I really feel is that it will be worth everything. In a way, I feel like it's a huge let go, and perhaps I don't know the implications of it yet, but I feel that the story wants to drag me in and, kind of find another solution to my preference, but I really deeply feel it's not going to happen, because then I will still be, hanging in this, and I don't want that anymore.
Yes, it's hard when it's up close and personal content that we really care about. It's hard to recognize the degree to which the very freedom that you point to, that we long for so deeply, doesn't come from rearranging the content of our lives. But when it's really hooked in content, but this is a family home, and it's taken 10 years. I mean, that taken 10 years shows that for part of you, this is extremely important and worth fighting for. That's be honored. We don't need to idealize this view of like the I like to talk sometimes about the pseudo Zen master. This pseudo Zen master is just detached from everything, feels nothing, there's no emotional experience at any point in time, and that's labeled equanimity. And I think it's important to recognize the freedom that you're speaking about is the freedom to have all of that arise, the freedom to not be confused that all of that is you. But that's not the same as not experiencing it or not knowing it. The question becomes, am I knowing it as I am the 6-year-old that can't live without this house? Or am I free to feel all of this, to honor all of this? Am I free to not confuse that my deepest well-being is attached to this outcome?
Not at all. And the 10 years has been not so much a fight for this as perhaps a real attempt to kind of respect the relationships.
Yes.
And now I've come to a point where I'm kind of ready to simply let go of that.
Yeah.
The
respect happened. We can trust life.
Yes.
We can trust life. The respect that was important to you happened. And it's not that now there's a lack of respect, but now you're freed to release something that's complete. It makes me think of, in Buddhism, often there's talk about karmic loops, karmic patterns. Yes. We all know that place of that loop is complete now.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any juice anymore.
It's true.
Charlotte Joko Beck used to say, we don't get rid of karma, we wear it out.
Yeah.
So there's something that's become worn out through your experience. So wonderful. Now you're free to watch that. Still, you'll have moments of getting triggered or moments, getting sucked back in, but you know the truth of your experience, which is you aren't that triggered person.
I realized when you said, I don't know what it was, but that perhaps it was me that said then I'm free of it. And of course, that's a kind of interesting way to put it, because of course I'm free of something, but the real freedom has nothing to do with either being before or after that event is completed.
Yes, and know that I heard that in two ways when you said it. I heard the freedom of I am not this experience, I am not this object, as well as sort of on a more relative plane.
Completion.
I heard it in both ways because of how you speak about it. Because of when you speak about the triggered state, there's a particular constriction through your whole being. And then when you speak about being free of it, there's you're speaking from the recognition you are not that triggered loop. So it's double meaning, even if it's not a totally conscious recognition of that. I mean, I think it's becoming a conscious recognition of it, but it was felt.
So much that this has made me look into, including at one point, perhaps a month ago, where I felt like what I was so upset about was that if something happened a certain way, I would not be in touch with love. And then I realized it's not like that. it will not stop me from loving.
I think an important thing about how you're framing this is the declaration of it. It will not. It's like a firm, loving parent that says, you will not every day have ice cream before dinner. You will not. There's a clarity to that, isn't there?
Yes.
And it can be from the recognition of love.
Yes.
You know, I also find comfort in the fact that, in fact, it cannot. But we do get identified, which leaves us perceiving that we can be removed from love. But in truth, where else would we go? What is outside this open, inherently loving awareness? Not loving in the subject-object relationship way, but what's outside that?
Thank you so much, Caverly.
Thank you so much. It's just deeply lovely to finally connect in this form. So thanks for following along on Instagram and Facebook, and more to come.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Sandy is chiming back in. Thank you for your response. I don't have a good private space that allows to comfortably come on screen. I understand. As coincidence, my sadness is also arising from a situation involving shared pets that I'm no longer able to see. It feels very empty. Yes, Sandy, my condolences. And I say that really from a place of the intimacy of being with you in that experience. Janice, I see that Anke, I hope I'm saying that right. Anke is asking how to come on screen. So if you could address that in the sidebar, that'd be helpful. And Sandy, I just want to acknowledge this. There's a purity to this grief that you feel. To the best of your ability, honor that purity, trust that purity. Janice, you said you can ask here on the question box and I can bring you on when Caverly's ready. Okay, so Sandy, I'm going to close out and allow one more person to come on screen, but I want to invite you to trust that purity, to not resist it or question it, to allow it to simply move through. Grief isn't a linear experience. It will come through. Be the free, open space that allows. And don't miss the purity of the experience of it. It's a form of love. Thank you, Sandy. All right, one more coming on screen. Thanks, friends. It's lovely when I get to see you. And then we'll close out. And while I'm waiting for this person to come on screen, my final reminder to offer a donation below if you're able. Really supports this experience. It can't, this experience can't happen without your support. So thank you. All right. Hello.
Hi, Caverly.
Good to see you.
I'm very happy to see you. I've been missing you a lot.
It's a real treat to see your face again.
Yeah, that's the wild experience of Corona, that suddenly we're much more worldwidely connected in many ways.
Yes, and remind me where you are now.
In Berlin.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
My question is actually related to location. You might remember that when I was still in Portland, I was already grappling with that big transition, moving from Portland back to Berlin. And
I remember.
Yes, and that's been a while ago. It was in the end of July, and I am still struggling with that experience. And you were briefly touching on that thought of it doesn't matter where you are or what your environment is when you were citing this poem. And so I was wondering if you could elaborate further on that.
Sure. For this conversation, I do like to speak about the different realms of experience. So, on the relative plane, yes, that body mind exists in Berlin in this beautiful light-filled space with two lovely plants that I can see behind you. So there's a reality to that.
Mm-hmm.
Most of our days, we walk around identified with that reality. I put it in quotes because it's an appearing that feels real to us because we're identified with it. The other reality that I would like to point to, that I would call reality with a capital R, is the reality that you aren't that body mind, and that you aren't existing in a limited form in a specific physical location. So for the purposes of how we talked about it in today's meditation, you are this open presence. The space that we see is arising in you. You will find it relieving as you continue to practice taking a stand as that open, not located in physical time and space experience, because it's an experience.
Mm-hmm.
It's an experience of presence.
So do you feel like, is it a way of looking at wherever I am that?
Thank you. I think that's an important question. It's not just, okay, I'm going to reframe how I think about things.
Mm-hmm.
Your assignment between now and when we next chat, your assignment, I love homework. You probably remember that. It'll keep this alive in your awareness to work with this koan, this practice. Your assignment is to find out in your own direct experience what is always true in all times, in all circumstances, in all spaces. What was true when you were in the physical location of Portland? What is true as you are in this light-filled space in Berlin? What is the same? What was the same when you were 10 years old and when you were 20 years old? You're going to that experience as you explore those questions. This is inquiry. This isn't to be answered just by the mind of the intellect before we hop off a call.
So what is true? Always true. Yeah.
What is true in all circumstances, in all times, in all experience?
Okay.
And what is true throughout this thing that we call time? What was true when you were 10? What is true when you're 20? What's the reality of your experience? Is the reality of your experience Berlin versus Portland? Older woman as opposed to child? Is that the full reality of your experience?
Are you asking me to?
No.
It's more. Okay.
Yes. Don't answer quickly in this moment. Really let these questions live as a place of inquiry and as a prompt to go to your own direct experience. And then will you come back on and we'll talk more?
Sure.
When you're ready. When you're ready.
It takes some time. But
yes, there's no hurry and there's no time. So, all right. Thank you. Thanks so much. I hadn't realized that was you, and it's great to see you. Okay, friends, we're a bit over today. Apologies for that, but thank you. I very much look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Please join me again at 8 a.m. Portland time. All right. Many blessings.